This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Buy or sell.
All right, it's buy or sell you've waited your whole life for. Buy or sell Jeremy Touche. Here's what you need to know about Jeremy. A Central Florida broadcast major, points for that. A club baseball player, points for that. He's worked for the New York Mets Dominican Republic externship. The Mets, there's a mute I sold his way. He's also hosted a radio show. Don't get any ideas, Jeremy. You know what I'm saying? And then this piece of evidence I submit to the court. Roll it.
Baby, you light up my world like nobody else the way that if the bed gets me overwhelmed. And when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell that you don't know. You don't know you're beautiful.
All right, he had it.
Told you.
He did have it. The Kentucky Fried Chickens are no longer undefeated.
Holy eyebrows.
I don't think that that's very nice. There's no need to come
Mike
after.
Ryan was asking me a couple weeks ago what's going on with my eyebrows. Well, saw an old picture of myself.
That's the au naturel right there.
You sing so sensually.
Yeah.
I want you to know that
voice all the time.
at
No
the
wonder
beginning-
your wife is actually really hot.
Yep. Thank you, Jessica.
Shia LaBeouf, ladies and gentlemen.
I
take
kind
that.
of see that,
I'll take it.
but from holes.
Even Stevens. Oh, yeah, or Holes. Either or.
From North.
Luigi brows.
You thread, bro?
Please, bro.
The question, I have a Look at Me Luigi I was going to play, but the power went out. So the soundboard has short-circuited. Can we play the video, please, of the power going out at the end of Reale? Because this has happened during Dan Patrick as well. We are having trouble keeping the lights on at Meadowlark Media.
I watch religiously all the time. Our power
Oh,
just
lights
went
out,
out.
Gorilla Radio. There
Oh
we
my
go.
God, that was amazing.
So you're worried about my camera angle, and now you guys can't keep the lights.
Jessica was having a whole lot of Jessica. That was a Jessica cam, and you were both scared and then horrified by the brightness.
I mean, it was terrifying, Dan. This building makes weird noises, and then sometimes the power just suddenly goes out, and the lights, when the lights came back, they were brighter than the lights are right now. I was blinded.
As he was saying, I watch it religiously.
We were smote.
So I don't know, because I wasn't here the last time this happened, but I know that the lights went out there too. Like, everything went out for just a second other than the Zoom connection. I guess the internet stayed on.
We have backups here. That's why we were able to stay on YouTube. The whole building lost power for a time. But, thank you to our tech team.
Robert in IT.
Hey,
keeping us
thank
on
you
air.
them for failing, though.
Yes.
Like, they failed
that's
at
the
first. And
Meadowlark
they're like,
way.
we fixed
No,
the
they
problem.
don't
make the building
we
make
fixed
power.
the problem. We fixed the problem that we created.
Meadowlark
We messed
way.
up.
It wasn't
We
our
fixed
fault
it
the
quickly.
power went
Wait.
out.
You're blaming Robert and GQ for the whole building losing power?
Well, I mean,
I could
didn't
see
happen
it.
at the Cleveland
I
game.
think about it. I could see it at GQ kind of just
Bob never let the lights go out, I'll tell you that.
That's true.
Bob Cobb. What was his name? Bob Hobb something? Cobb something?
Let's go to
Bob
Bob.
Cobbler.
It's a good question.
Bob
from you.
Cobbler.
Gobbler.
He's always working on that. He's always in Buffalo working on that barn. I wonder how that barn's doing.
Bob's not in Buffalo in a barn. He's Greg in White Lotus, right? He
Yeah, he
our
took the
money.
money.
Gary?
He took our money.
I think Jessica has like an HR claim just based on the ISO shots that they take of her all the time. Because like the power going out, just having the shot on Jessica with like bright lights while she's confused
The
and
part
maybe
that I don't know-
terrified.
The part I don't get
Sometimes
is
she's
why,
just eating.
why don't we ever have the camera on her when she's sneezing, though? Because that's what I'm always asking for, and it's never on her then.
No, Jason only cuts to me when I'm taking a large bite of a sandwich, yawning at a very bad moment. Yeah. We all yawn, okay? When I'm like looking at my phone in the middle of something, Billy looks at his phone all day. All day.
Whoa.
Never cuts to Billy looking at his phone.
They also cut to you apparently when you turn into a vampire because the lights are on. I heard you hiss.
It was strange.
It's a love story.
But it was very bright. Yes, an eternal love story. Nosferatu, I will always swear by it. I still don't understand why Jessica doesn't get that I was joking on that.
Why'd she turn on me here? I mean, I was trying to support her on an HR claim.
Women
and
aren't
she's
funny.
Jeez.
The thing that I wanted to ask you guys, and I make this request of the people in the sports media who cover the sports media. Go make ESPN answer why that show's being canceled. Somebody asked the questions for why. I'm curious. I'd like to know why Around the Horn is being let go. I think a loyal audience deserves at least the question being asked.
Can I do some reckless speculation?
Sure. Well, but the thing doesn't work because I don't have the sounder here. So you're going to have to wait until Chris Cody because my soundboard has gone completely off and I don't have any access to any sound. So we're going to have to wait until you're good. Are you ready, Chris Cody?
Time to throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless. Here is something we like to call reckless speculation.
You're good.
You're good.
Thank you. Without the "you're good," it's just a sounder, and then I'm putting myself at risk. Reckless speculation. It's because there aren't enough athletes on the show. If you watch ESPN's shows more and more, it's like, how can we get closer to an entirely athlete cast, and/or Stephen A. Smith? It's one of the two. If you're not all athletes, and/or Stephen A. Smith, then you can't do a show on ESPN. PTI, your days are numbered.
Whoa.
PTI's days are numbered.
Whoa, be careful, Amin. I don't, what are you looking, Billy? You're just saying, oh, mortality. Okay, good. I see it in your eyes.
I didn't say that.
I saw it in your
would
eyes.
Never. I mean, you had a host who was hiding in his attic for 4 years.
You never chose between Jimmy Johnson and Pat Riley.
You never did. That's true, Amin.
One's got to go.
Journalist here.
Which one, Dano?
I'll do it tomorrow because I never got to do anything that I wanted to do with Pat Riley and Jimmy Johnson. Now you guys took the show from me and wouldn't let me have it back.
Well, no, you guys started talking about the Warriors for 4 minutes for some reason.
Nope, he started with ice cream and cookies. That's where we started.
You guys are going to blame this on me when we spent 20 minutes on White Lotus, and you're going to blame it on me.
That was the best 20 minutes of the day.
Man, I can give you 20 more.
If we want to get into fan theories, Dan.
Patrick Schwarzenegger, douche.
Why do they keep showing the weird relationship between him and his brother? Where do we think that ends up?
Who's the weird one? Is it him or is it the brother?
They're both
him
weird.
because he's the older one. I think the younger one,
he's finding himself.
Yeah, I don't know. If you grow up with a brother like that, maybe that's why you're a little weird.
Why are you feuding with Mina Kimes?
I'm not feuding with Mina Kimes. I just called her an ingrate. That's all.
Aggressive?
That's not feuding.
Okay. Why did you call Mina an ingrate?
Well, I come across these things, right, on the internet, and they make me go, huh. And so I don't know if you guys saw this. Did you guys see what Mina said?
I don't know what she said. I don't know why she's feuding with you. I don't know why you're feuding with her. I don't know why she's an ingrate.
She's not feuding with me. I'm not feuding with her. But this is a quote from Mina Kimes. The show that gave me the confidence to even believe someone like me could do TV. Pardonnez-moi? Around the Horn? The only reason she was on Around the Horn was because of a little program called The Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. And another little program called Highly Questionable.
That's not true.
That is true.
No, it's not. They found her on Around the Horn and then booked her on this show. She was on that show first.
But we gave her the confidence.
Is that true?
Yes.
I don't even
Same
know.
With Sarah Spain and Pablo.
I actually think that I think that Mina and Pablo were called as business journalists and as in Pablo's case as Sports Illustrated researcher. I believe that we had them on first. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I thought so though.
I think so too.
Those two, not any of the others.
Now I'm going to do some reporting. BRB.
And by the way, let's play this out. Billy Gill, Mark, whatever your name is. Let's play it out. Let's just assume she was on Around the Horn first. You know what she was on Around the Horn before she came on this show here? Forgettable.
Excuse me, though.
She came on this show, and Dan and Stugotz coached her up on how to give takes.
I'm seeing that Mina Kimes made her first appearance on Around the Horn on March 30th, 2017. So let's see if we can.
Pablo was on Around the Horn first, October 2012.
Well, I can't talk about Pablo because he didn't tweet out the show that gave me the confidence.
Is it not up to Mina to decide what show gave her the confidence?
It's not up to her because we put in so much work and development here. This is the training ground. This is where the crucible was experienced. I don't know what happens with crucibles. They burn them. They don't burn crucibles.
Crucibles, it's sort of crossroads. This was the crossroads. I don't know what does happen with crucibles.
There's something that whatever happens with crucibles, her crucible happened here, right? Well, I was there. I saw Dan tell her, Mina, you gotta just be more relaxed. I saw Stugotz say, Mina, this is how you deliver a hot take. You're doing this meandering nuance thing. It's gotta be definitive and declarative. And then I saw her go back to Around the Horn and kill it. You know why? Because she's a talent. She's a great talent. But every talent needs coaching. I know Dan Le Batard doesn't believe in coaching. I believe in coaching. I believe in molding. I believe in shaping. And I believe all those things happen here in the 305. On 305 Day, no less. No one has even mentioned it. We're losing recipes. What's happening with this show? You guys are just letting everyone just take our across generations.
Because the women aren't cooking anymore. Pablo said he was on Around the Horn first, and in 2012, also The Crucible's about the Salem witch trials, but it's an allegory for McCarthyism, I believe.
Thank you.
Oh, that was a good movie.
We got to the bottom of the saving the bacon yesterday, too, though, off air.
Who saved it?
Well, so let me get it. I texted Dan the explanation because he was texting us hours
so
later. What's the
Mike
reason?
Ryan said that Ed Reed saved their bacon at Boston College, and he also said Purple Shirt Guy is a South Florida forever moment, Mount Rushmore.
He's right about that.
On saving the bacon. But I asked Billy what I didn't understand, that I missed it. I'm getting old. I've lost a step. I didn't understand the phrase "saving the bacon." Do any of you know the origins of the phrase of what it means to save someone's bacon?
I've heard of bringing home the bacon. I've never heard of saving the bacon.
So while I was getting ready for the FIU-UM game yesterday, I did some research and I sent it to Dan, but I'm assuming he brought it up because he wants me to explain to the class. So it goes back to the time before refrigerators were readily available to every house. So you'd have one person per block that would keep things cold for people. Thus, they'd save the bacon.
Well, that can't be real. They had ice boxes, right?
I see an interview with Mina on our show a year and a half before her first Around the Horn appearance.
Say it again, Chris, for the haters in the back.
I see an interview with Mina Kimes a year and a half before she was with...
Fire up the victory lap right now.
Okay, victory lap. I mean, I think
I
he's right.
texted me and I'm awaiting confirmation.
And I'm going to say I think we've got it wrong on Pablo. I don't think Pablo was on Around the Horn before he was on here, because I believe he was a researcher still at Sports Illustrated, or only had written his very first article at Sports Illustrated. We will get the victory lap for Amin El-Hassan. But where are you, Billy? Because I've been wanting to get all show to whatever it is your cheese conundrum is, because I don't know what your cheese conundrum is. We were supposed to go over it with Samson, and for some reason it got away from us. What is your cheese conundrum?
I was hoping to ask David about the cheese conundrum that I have, just because he's someone that would answer this. Now, I have in my hand, that I took out of my pocket, a piece of cheese. Ooh. You see this cheese? Ooh, a Babel. A Babel. What would you call this type of cheese? It's the cheese that has like the wax around it that you have to like peel off.
A small circular thing
wheel
of cheese. A wheel of cheese that is covered by a red plastic, so it looks like almost a ball.
Yeah, well, it has like its wax casing around it or whatever it is that you take off, and then around that it has a plastic wrapper. Now, here's the part that's disgusting, and this is where I have the conundrum, and as you can see, I haven't made a decision yet, but I'm holding it, so it's still disgusting. I dropped this piece of cheese in the garage on my way in. Fell on the floor, less than 5 seconds, 4 seconds. I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I grabbed it because I was deciding, what do I do with this? And then I have to decide, do I throw this away? Because who would eat a piece of cheese that fell on the floor in the garage at Bayside while you're going to walk in?
But wait a minute. It's covered in the red wrapping.
Well, that's the thing. It has 2 layers of security. So I was going to throw it away, and then I thought to myself, there's not 1, but 2 layers of security. There's the plastic wrapping around it, and then there's the wax around it. Because how can you say I'm going to eat a piece of cheese that fell on the floor of a garage?
People urinate in there.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
exactly right. Now I have pee-pee hands from other people's pee-pee that was on the floor that probably touched this.
Wash your hands, but the covering, it's not even the paper that's protecting you there.
Pee-pee hands.
The wax is protecting you. To clean your pee-pee hands and just unwrap it. The wax, man, you could drop that in almost anything. You could drop that practically in a toilet and still be okay with that wax.
I don't know about that. I don't know if this is like watertight seal, but like the question is that's what we're saying, right? But I know if I then eat this piece of cheese, people will then say, no, you can't. Like, it fell on the floor of a garage. You should have thrown it away.
Hold
but
on.
there's so many starving people in the world, Dan.
I don't think you should throw that away, and I think the wax protects you. I think the paper protects you, but I think the wax protects you. We're going to go to Amin in a second here. He is getting ready in the other room, and he looks like he's ready. Okay, I think we're going to let him get a little bit tired
got me?
before we go to the victory
I'm not
lap.
going to get tired, Dan.
All right.
By the way, the victory lap is brought to you by me for being right.
Okay, Mina claims over text Amin that she went on Around the Horn around the same time she came on the Le Batard Show.
Not around the same time. A year and a half. Chris proved it.
No. Well,
Chris proved it.
She was on with us a year and a half before her first
A
appearance.
year and a half, ladies and gentlemen. She was dreaming about Around the Horn when we were putting in all the work.
Now, I will say.
Don't
that-
interrupt the victory lap.
I know, man. I'm doing my victory lap. Hey, you know what she learned here? How not to dap up Poppy. Remember that? Remember that was a thing? We did that. America didn't know your personality until that, Mina. I learned how to do TV on Around the Horn. Pshaw, I say.
Pshaw, I say,
The
while
sound of
sprinting.
him running.
Pshaw, no one's ever committed to that. This is how it should have been done from the beginning.
This is how Dan wants it. You know
Yes.
what? We're doing something new, Dan.
Yes.
I hear your complaints. We're following your lead. Enough of the disrespect of the Dan Le Batard Show and Dan Le Batard. We're doing things the Dan way. He wants people to sprint and be out of breath and spit when they talk. Guess what? I'm doing it right now because this is the victory lap. I was right. Dan was right. Mina, capitulate at once. Back to you guys.
This is what Dan's always wanted right here.
It's so good this way. He's pulling up his pants.
My pants are falling down. Just don't pan down. You'll see my crotch.
He's pulling down his.
Like Tony
he's
Reali.
pulling up his pants, and he's
if only
unreasonably
he was in a
angry.
costume.
Billy,
would be losing it.
what's wrong with your cheese?
I ate the cheese, and I regret it, not because it fell in the floor of the garage, but because it's been in my pocket for 4 hours, and it was warm and not good.
no.
I thought we were going to get to this a lot sooner, and I didn't put it in the fridge, and it was, bad cheese.
No. What is happening with you and your shadow show contention, Billy? That Jeff Conine is Dwayne Wade. I don't think
This is crazy what Billy was doing.
No. We're just having a conversation out there, like a regular sports conversation, and everybody was like screaming at me.
I
Which
feel
is
like
ridiculous.
The setup was somebody compared Jeff Conine to Udonis Haslem, legends of these teams who are known more for what they meant to the teams more than what they actually did on the field. And then Billy, of course, had to do the Billy thing and say,
There's no Billy thing.
Jeff Conine is not.
No, you're telling the story bad.
Okay,
this
go
is
on.
what happened. You guys were talking about Jeff Conine, and is he like? It was really
Udonis Haslem.
Who's the Marlins like Dwayne Wade? And then someone's like, I guess it's Jeff Conine. And then like Jeremy's like, oh, are you saying something bad about my Dwayne? Never.
Not
we
what
could
happened.
never say anything
This
about
is also
Dwayne.
not the right
Not
story.
Jeff Conine. So then they were saying like, no, he's not even on Dwayne Wade's level. Like Jeff Conine played for 1 million teams, and we're like, well, so kind of Dwayne Wade a little bit.
You're the one who said all of those
And
things.
then they were like, well, Jeff Conine was never an all-star or an MVP. I was like, he was actually an all-star game MVP. And wait a minute, so was Dwayne Wade, an all-star game MVP. And Jeff Conine won 2 championships with the Marlins, and Dwayne Wade won 3 with the Heat. I was like, their careers are actually pretty paralleled. Like, Dwayne Wade is kind of Jeff Conine.
So insulting. If you have Wade over here and you have Udonis Haslem over here and you have Jeff Conine in the middle, Jeff Conine is more towards the Udonis Haslem. He's not he's known, he's popular with the fan base, but he was never the best player on his team. He's more thought of as like a leader, a franchise great, but not for what he did on the field, just kind of like, being a good team guy.
I don't think Jeff Conine is the greatest baseball player ever, just to be clear on this. I'm just saying.
Who's a better Heat player of all time than Dwayne Wade? Like, how can
LeBron James.
Oh, stop this.
I mean, we can name a player or two that we can argue about as it relates to Dwayne Wade. We can name a lot of players who were better in all of the seasons than Jeff Conine was.
I'm
Jeff
saying
Conine was never.
their careers had a lot of parallels, is what I was saying, and I was being how could you even coach Dwayne Wade? The keys on the doorman.
It's specifically because you said
Jeremy in stereo.
Jeff Conine is not Udonis Haslem. Jeff Conine is Dwayne Wade.
There's
the
way more
sentence that
parallels.
came out of your mouth was Jeff Conine
Well, once we started
is
getting
Dwayne
there,
Wade.
yeah, we drove. Yeah, we didn't start there. We ended up there after we were comparing all of the things. You start connecting the dots, and then you see the picture of the dog.
The only difference between Jeff Conine and Udonis Haslem is like one All-Star game for Jeff Conine. Without Jeff Conine making that one All-Star game,
he's
he would be
multi-time
Udonis
All-Star.
Haslam. I hate this.
I like Billy looking at his usual suspects cork board and making the connections between Jeff Conine and Dwayne Wade.
But what is this spectrum that we
was a
speak of
two-time All-Star.
between Dwayne Wade and Udonis Haslem? Like the spectrum that Chris Cody is objecting to. Like
Because
what?
Haslam is...
I think this is looking at any franchise and going career legends, right? Career legends for a franchise. And the Dwayne Wade side of it is also the most excellent player on the floor. And the Udonis Haslem side is the other side of what it is to be a career legend. Leadership being your most important part of
Popular
what
with
has
the
given you
fans.
that. Popular with fans. And if we're making a sliding scale from excellence to popularity, we're probably going to put Conine a little closer to the popularity
Not
side.
probably.
And that's not a knock against Jeff Conine, the player.
Niner.
Dan, I'm going to tell you right now, you love feuds. Right now, this show that you've lost control of, that I will help you get control back of,
Get the reins.
this show is about the feud with Udonis Haslem, and that's a feud.
That's
I can-
crazy. On
I don't want any
305
of
Day,
this.
which is insane. Like, I don't know. Why do you guys keep...
This is what I'm saying. Is
why-
that Udonis Haslem was a great player.
You keep
Jeff
keeping
Conine was a
up-
great player.
No.
Dwayne Wade is the greatest player.
That's
No, he's
not
not.
what you said.
Well, you keep keeping up also for this Dwayne Wade that Dan told us earlier, and I quote, he's a liar.
Liar.
Are you guys putting me in a spot to have Jeff Conine and Udonis Haslem mad at me?
And Dwayne Wade, because Dan called him a liar earlier. He said he made up that cookie thing just
Dwayne
to
Wade
make
was ever
Pat
mad at
Riley
me, I
look
would
bad,
cry.
who may or may not have something else going on.
And
We'll never know.
If you fight any of
Find
it,
out
Pat
tomorrow.
Riley will be mad at you too. And now you're really in
That
trouble.
I can't have.
Because that means Alonzo Mourning's mad at you.
I don't know what's true on the Dwayne Wade thing. I'm just telling you that the Heat are saying that that's not true. From every orifice and angle of every part of the organization, they're saying that Dwayne's story is not true.
The Jeff Conine and Dwayne Wade comparison is not that crazy. It's just a normal sports conversation that was going on out there, and these people act like it's blasphemy. And how could you even have a conversation?
I don't recognize you today in a lot of ways, and it's Wild Billy Wednesday, and so that's one of the things that's unpredictable about Wednesdays here. Because you also were somebody who was telling us today, and this isn't how I think of you generally, sort of motivationally, inspirationally, you were telling us to dream big, to dare to dream big. And I don't know what the inspiration was for you trying to tell all of us as sort of a slogan on behalf of Caring at Meadowlark to dare to dream big.
Well, that was just because I was thinking back to when we were at Radio Row and we had an interview with Matthew Berry, who spoke to Jay-Z. But it wasn't about the time that he was interviewing Jay-Z. So we were talking to him actually about being like a big Jimmy Buffett fan and being a Parrot Head fan. And then one thing led to another. And I don't know exactly what part of the clip was, but he told us of a dream that he had. And that dream came from an experience that he had when he was at a Margaritaville resort.
And
there's a lot you don't know about that, Barry. Okay,
quite the onion. The flow rider was great. I literally looked into like how much would it cost to get one in my backyard, and then it's like it's crazy expensive.
Really?
So I was like,
how much?
Like it's like it's well over 7 figures. Like it's I was
over?
I was
What?
Yes.
Wow.
They told me it was like it's 1.5 to 2, and I'm like, really?
What?
Yeah. So I was
You're
like,
gonna put
all
one
right,
in
never
your
mind.
wait.
Yeah,
You're gonna put one in your yard?
Yeah, my backyard.
I love this. Matt, I swear I thought you were gonna say, so I got one.
No.
It's hard to justify.
No,
that.
come on. No, but I thought could it cost maybe a little bit more than a pool?
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And kind of thing. And I don't know.
You were thinking the $70,000 range, right? I got it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I thought,
finance it a little.
is that right?
You can kind of explain that away.
Yeah, just
over $1 million.
I mean, I have
That's
5
crazy.
kids. You know what I mean? You're always looking for,
Yeah.
at the time. Anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter.
So a flow rider, for those of you who don't know, is like a surfing simulator that they have like on cruise ships and stuff like that. So it's like a wave machine essentially where you can like surf. And he has the dream, or had the dream, of putting one and installing one in his backyard until he found out it was almost $2.5 million. And I said, you know what? Well, some people see this story and they think it's ridiculous. Dream big, Matthew Berry. I hope you get that contract where you can put a $2 million surfing simulator in your backyard. And I feel like we should all aspire to dream that big.
I think all of us thought he meant Flow Rider, the recording artist.
Oh, that's
like at a bar mitzvah.
I feel like you get Flow Rider for like
Saquon Barkley.
75 grand now,
No
right?
way.
No way?
You spin
Really?
my head round, round.
Dude, Flow Rider, Mount Rushmore of treadmill performers. You listen to Flow Rider on a treadmill.
My house
oh
slaps.
my!
Oh, I thought you were meant like performers on a treadmill, like that band OK Go that did the music video on the treadmill.
Yeah.
As part of our 20-year anniversary celebration, we're letting you look behind the scenes, behind the bit. Here is Highly Questionable with Poppy, which I'm assuming is going to have that ingrate Mina Kimes in it.
This is Behind the Bit. This is Behind the Bit. This is Behind the Bit. We take you back to a better time in the show's history, a time, at least for me, where I was happiest because we were at ESPN.
And like, this is the true story of how it is that Highly Questionable came to be. I'm not even making this up. This is exactly how it happened. My father loses his job, and at 57, 58, as being the provider, loses his identity, shows up at the office, all his shit is in a garbage can. That's it. His career is over. It's done. Now he's spiraling at home, and my mom doesn't know what to do with him, and the guy who identifies as a provider can't just be puttering around doing nothing with no identity, not knowing what to do. So the idea of putting him on the television show was, how do I get my father, who needs some rigid patterns, who needs some scheduling, who's been going to work every day from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., what can I do to make sure that my parents are good and that that retirement for them isn't me or my family having to pick up a whole bunch of pieces because my father's going a little bit crazy? And so that was a gift to him and a contrivance and work in television that I didn't even particularly want to do necessarily, just in order to make sure that our family wasn't destroyed because my father would have gone a little bit nuts retiring that way.
Then you did a show together at ESPN. Can you tell us how that came about?
I thought that, what is he talking about? Well, I thought that he was joking. I said, I couldn't believe it. I never believed it until I was on the set. I thought that the show was going to last for about 4 to 6 weeks. I think this thing is
It's a terrible idea. Clearly a terrible idea. It'll never work. A man who doesn't know that much about sports doing the hosting of the show in his second language. Yeah. How could it possibly fail?
Yeah, I figure, it's going to explode like a big bomb after 6 weeks or so.
4 to 6 weeks is what he gave it. Great confidence in his son.
Yes. I figured he's
terrible idea. My son has terrible judgment.
Everybody calls you Poppy. What is that like, where everybody's calling you Poppy that are not your children?
Well, I mean, it was something that I was not really expecting. I guess that it's easier to call me Papi than Gonzalo. Gonzalo is a very difficult name to spell. So I said, Papi, okay, I'll take it. If they want to call me Papi, fine, As long as we are doing the show, I didn't mind at all.
If there is a legacy that I could choose for our show, it would look a lot like that people on the street would call him in Spanish the word for father. If that's all you give me from that show, that's a pretty cool thing to have.
Have you been recognized on the street?
Yes. And now, not that much.
He's a has-been. He's a has-been. He used to have some A-list celebrity, but then he left ESPN, and now all of a sudden, occasionally he gets half a tuna sandwich, but there aren't that many people recognizing him anymore. It was a good tuna sandwich. It was a good tuna sandwich.
Highly Questionable had many funny bits created by me, like the handshake bit.
Hell of a segment.
Great.
It got a little. You got a little.
Give me a big handshake. I got him. Give me 5. No. I got him. He's a rookie. He's a rookie. Great job, buddy. Oh, thanks. No! Great show. No! I got him.
I give. Oh.
It's It's always the same prank. My father only had one prank. He would stick his hand out and then do this. That was it. It wasn't the height of comedic genius. It was not ingenuity. It was not Disney originality the way you think of it. It was one move. He's a one-trick phony.
One-trick pony. That's
Phony.
what I did.
One-trick phony is what I just made him.
And then, of course, there was my classic banana phone bit. I saved the show with this.
Was there something with a banana?
Oh, the banana. Yeah, the banana too. I came up with that one. That was my original one.
That's right. That's the banana phone is a Poppy original. My father one day, what is it that you did? For some reason, you pretended that the banana, the fake fruit on the set was ringing and you answered the phone.
Ring, ring, ring.
Let's go.
Hello? Hey, Dan, how are you, buddy? Everything good? Yeah, the show went very well, yeah. Easy and Frank, yeah, they're doing the show with me. Oh, these guys are pretty good, yeah. Huh? Yeah? You want to talk to Frank? All right, hold on for a second. Yeah, you're Frank. I got him!
I thought he wanted to talk to me.
Yeah, we were stuck and they needed something different. So I grab it, I put it on my ear and say, Juanito, what's going on, buddy?
That's right.
How you doing today?
That's
you
right.
got my numbers for today?
That's right.
My
His bookie would call him on the banana phone. The important part of that, though, is what my father said at the beginning. We were stuck one day.
We were stuck.
And I had to go to the magic treasure chest of comedy. There was a banana there, and I made it a telephone.
It was true.
It was true.
It was true. We were stuck. Everybody froze on the set, and I came to the rescue.
Right.
That's
Heroic.
right.
So heroic, he should have been on a white stallion.
Well, yeah, that was a hell of a show, man.
It was a good show.
That was a hell of a game, see or no?
It was. My father's favorite. See or no?
That's right.
On Fox Sports Detroit, Nuggets at Pistons.
Oh, our old friend JaVale McGee. My father saw him in a Whole Foods down here in South Florida and went and met him and then was all excited. I'm your biggest fan. And JaVale McGee had no interest in my father and doesn't know who my father is and doesn't care who my father is. Let's see JaVale McGee.
7.5 and 5.5, already has 8 points.
Oh, JaVale, you got to make that.
Hold on, I don't think you appreciate what just happened here. He tried to dunk on his teammate.
And he almost did. Brian Shaw, gratuitous Brian Shaw shot. Lamont, are you intrigued?
I'm not especially intrigued, but I do feel like every now and then tuning in to watch the Pistons to see if Stan's got a smile on his face. Is Stan smiling yet?
Never. Poppy, are you intrigued?
Oh, see, I'm very intrigued because I always thought that JaVale McGee was my favorite player in the NBA until I met him here in South Beach. I think he recognized me. Now I think that he's a mother.
He carried the show for 8 years in the middle of ESPN's lineup just by saying C.
And whenever I said no a couple of times in about 10 years, everything came to a stop.
Everything fell apart.
Everyone got confused, the producers and everybody,
hissing,
right?
Yes.
It also, Poppy, it made the show wonderfully Hispanic. Did you have any feelings or thoughts on that?
I felt that there was a large follow on the show. There were Spanish-speaking people, you know. They were attracted, I guess, to my figure as an old man, maybe a grandfather. Used to get letters, you know, expressing their liking of the show because of me, my accent, the way I talk, my mannerism. So it was very rewarding that way. I changed my tone of voice on the show, you know. That's
Old Red Light Poppy would turn it on when he needed to. Coming up on my son's TV show.
That's right.
Coming up
on my son's TV show.
It sounds like my son Stevie's show. My son Stevie's show.
Well, that's the idea.
I know. I understand. It's not like I'm not familiar with your work. My father actually didn't name me Luis or Gonzalo, even though he was going to name me Luis or Gonzalo, because he didn't want me to suffer the racism I might suffer in this country from having a name like that. So he called me Dan instead, a very American name. And then the irony was that when ESPN needed to lock in that unicorn Hispanic demo, his son Dan wasn't Hispanic enough. So he needed to get a cartoon Latin accent to be next to him on television so they could play Sí o No and feel more Hispanic. That's a nice shirt, puppy. Is that a new shirt? Did you get that for here?
No,
It's a
your
good
mother
shirt.
bought it. Your mother bought it for me.
She paid
top dollar. Cha-ching! I never spend that kind of money, but your mother does, so.
Is this silk?
I don't know what it is.
Rayon?
I don't know. I always enjoy doing this show because I had an opportunity to work with Dan, and that's a father's dream to be able to work with his son on a national TV show. And I like it because they got to know Dan, not the guy that is writing columns or that he's talking on the radio that sounds stuck up.
Not the asshole, not the guy who's an asshole. He wanted to show them a different side of Dan.
That's right, because Dan is a nice guy. And people sometimes, most of the time, they used to get the wrong impression of Dan. But when Dan began working with me on the TV show, then they got to know the real Dan.
He was there to help me. My father from the very beginning said that his only goal there was to help me. And in that respect, he did. He softened me. He softened Bomani. It's how he became the star of the show. I used to be the asshole, and then he became the asshole who stole a show from his son.
It's the height of winter, but it's also a great time to gather with friends and enjoy some Miller Lite. That's right, Miller Lite has the taste you know you can depend on. No games, no gimmicks, just that beautiful white can and a great tasting beer for people like you and me who love the taste of beer. Because Miller Lite is brewed for taste. It hits different than other light beers, with simple ingredients like malted barley for rich, balanced toffee note flavors and that iconic golden color that we all know and love. And here's the most important part for me. I mean, I like all the things, but 96 calories and just 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces, Miller Time is always a good time. The original light beer since 1975 and still the very best one. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Tastes like Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
What's up, Juju?
What up, dog?
4 episodes
My
in.
brothers.
4 episodes in.
That's so fire, bruh.
Did you watch the finale?
Hell yeah, dog.
Didn't see that one coming, huh?
Be careful. Tread lightly.
I'm just saying, I didn't see that one.
They're talking about Paradise, and it's getting a lot of word of mouth, and I always enjoy when these shows get word of mouth, and a lot of my friends start talking about stuff because now I can anticipate binging something. I'm only 1 episode in, but go ahead. I mean, go have the floor here with how good this show is on Hulu. And for those of you who don't know, without spoiling anything at all, it's a president of the United States and his top security person, and it goes from there.
Yeah, it's a murder mystery, right? And watching the first episode, you'll be like, okay, all right, whatever. Oh, it looks a little weird, okay. And then there's a revelation at the end of episode 1, and that sets the premise for the entire show. And that's what takes it from another one of these whodunit.
No, but it's
shows.
plenty good before that revelation.
It's good, but it's also like been done before. Who done it? Done before.
The thing that I felt in the first episode, and I will let you guys speak to it, but the thing that I felt in the first episode that I legitimately have not felt since watching The Shield, which I believe to be one of the best television shows I've ever seen, is an increasing tension that by the end of this, I feel like I'm going to be personally surrounded because of how bad a situation this is.
For sure. But even saying that, we can still acknowledge that you never felt like I'm watching something totally undone before until the end of episode 1. And that's what took me from like, okay, this is a cool show to what? And it sets everything else into
I'm 4 episodes in, and I'm loving it so far, so be careful with the spoilers. But
No.
I will say my one critique this is no spoiler, the time hops. Like, we gotcha. It's just like, oh, my relationship with my father. Cut to 7 years earlier, where here we're going to show you in one scene how I encapsulate my entire relationship with my father. Oh, you should see my kids. Cut to 7 years. It's just like, we gotcha. You can do time hops.
Typically, I'm not a fan of time hops. I think they do the time hops perfectly. But Dan, I did want to bring this up because I saw this. This was the Dan Fogelman, who is the EP of the show. He posted on Instagram an email he sent to Sterling K. Brown, the star of the show, December 14th, 2022. Hey, man, so here's something different I've been working on for the last few months. Wrote it for/picturing you. You're the only person who has seen this aside from the 4-ish people who run Disney/20th. It was turned in 48 hours ago, and it's getting a series order. Keep that between us. It's all just happening overnight, but it will be roughly 8 to 10 episodes a season for Hulu, couple seasons. I have no desire to shoot anywhere besides LA, though we might have to drive a bit to get the location it requires. No one else involved yet. No one else has seen it. This email will self-destruct in 2 minutes. I know it goes without saying, but never feel pressure on my end. Like Whitney said, I will always love you. Take a read. Tell me what you think. You'll have questions at the end. I have answers. Love to Rye and the fam. Feel better. 2 years ago, he sent that email to Sterling K. Brown. Didn't have a cast. Didn't even have a green light.
Isn't that how every show gets started?
No.
Like with a pitch to a lead actor. Hey, I wrote this.
No, man.
This
How
is every show pitched ever to an actor?
Well,
I don't mean to undercut what you're doing,
No,
but
no.
it just seems like a pretty standard process.
Usually they pitch to the studio, and the studio either has ideas of who they would want or...
Well, we're talking to a movie star here. He would know how this stuff happens. Sterling K. Brown is great.
Memes and Nightmares.
I love him in just about everything. Juju, what are your thoughts on Paradise? Well, you've told us already, but added thoughts.
Yeah, like they're saying, when it comes to the time hops, it's from the same people who made This Is Us. And if you watch This Is Us, they got nothing but time hops telling you about how the dad was going through this or that. But long story short, after you watch that first episode, the last scene, I feel like universally around the globe,
you're in.
You just say, I'm in. You say exactly, okay, I'm in now. I'm locked in. Can't wait for episode 2. Please, I urge everybody to go give it a chance.
All right, please, I urge, as someone who was discussing with Amin off air here moments ago, my general frustrations on us having ideas at Metal Arc and then not executing them, I would love a time hop that goes back in your relationship with your father, Chris Cody, and shows me your entire relationship in one scene. I would like for you to write with your dad, show us that he's the actor that he's told us he is this week. One scene that encapsulates your whole relationship. I'm giving you the assignment. I'm sure it will never see the light of day.
Hold on, Dan. Chris, let me help you out. The present scene is you guys on the boat for your dad's birthday. The time hop goes back to the story you told on the boat.
Do it however you want. Just get me something by the end of tomorrow's postgame show.
Amin nailed it. Look, as someone who witnessed the boat and the speech on the boat, that's a really good template.
Whatever you guys want. You guys,
include the bag.
Should we work on this?
I'm just saying, when you've been around Hollywood as long as I have, like, you get to see things. Memes and Nightmares on Hulu right now.
And then the next scene, you go from that boat and then go to Greg Cody's belly button surgery, and then you go back to freedom. And it's like, oh.
Then fast forward, and it's a funeral scene, and you're like, oh no. And then they zoom out, and it's Greg looking at Chris's casket.
No!
I'm in.
No! Exactly, Juju.
Oh, my God.
I'm in.
You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
What else do you have for us today in terms of review of the show, Juju?
I think they got a little carried away with the White Lotus conversation, which makes me want to jump in as well. Yeah. I think the other couple of days ago, you was like, things that are best to take a nap to. I would urge people to see episode 3 of White Lotus. Very peak nap-taking vibes. The water hitting. You be like, oh, man. Then you hear the birds chirping. And then you hear a phone vibrating. But it's like, oh, that's not my phone. That's Draco Malfoy's dad's phone. I can stay asleep. And speaking of Draco Malfoy's dad, his accent could use a little WD-40. Yeah. I'm not sure if he's from Texas, Australia, London. I don't know. But I love the White Lotus just the franchise, but this season is made of filler.
Thank you.
How did you feel about people coming after renewed vows? I thought they really went hard after romance here.
Right, bro. Like the same way White Lotus is made of filler, my shirt is made of boyfriend material. If my baby wants I don't give a damn if she wants me to fly to the moon and just say, hey, bro, we gotta go. She has chosen to spend the rest of her life with me. And if baby say she want to renew her vows in front of her friends, dare I say, I'm willing to give her the moon. I'm willing to give her the world. I will invite all the people. Thanks for saying this. I know who to leave off the invite sheet. Because, bro, whatever my baby want, I'm going to surround her with love for the rest of my life. So I think that the vows got a little bad rep, bro. We talking to David Sampson, a proud divorced man. He calls it what, the devil he he knows.
The rare.
We can't ask people like him about the vows. I think that vows are to be celebrated, and it's an amazing thing to live that long and celebrate your love.
Juju, I saw a guy on Instagram say that the cure for the divorce rates in America, which is around 50%, is to treat marriages like a 4-year NBA contract. And that way you have a contract year at the end, and people are still working to keep the relationship alive, versus a lifetime deal where it's like, what's the incentive for me to work? I'm already here.
Right. And you got to treat every day like you just start courting. Like being.
Uh-oh.
Oh, hanging on every word.
Yep. You got to.
Damn it. You know what I mean?
We didn't know
Like,
what you
what
mean
can you-
because you froze out after our lights went out. Go ahead and you always got to be courting is where we lost you.
Oh, yeah, you got to keep it courting, bro. Ask your wife, hey, do you mind if I take you on a date this Saturday? Are you free? Like, keep the spice in your love life. Write her a note. Tell her, hey, meet me at this restaurant. I'm going to act like I don't know you, and I'm going to try to see if I can pick you up sometime in the night. Like, keep your relationship alive, and this is some of the stuff that helps do so.
When I
You
asked
feel
my
me?
wife to go on a date, she goes, but your parents watched her last weekend. What am I going to ask my parents again for the third weekend in a row? I can't just be asking. We can't ask everyone every weekend, and then I get an earful. That's why I'm just like, okay, sorry.
I have an idea that's never been done before on any show or podcast anywhere. What if we had a love line for advice? But for every question, Juju gives his advice, and then Chris gives his advice.
I love that. I love that idea. Let's do that right after we do Greg and Chris in a single snapshot, one acted scene. Before we get to the polls, I wanted to tackle a couple of basketball things here with Juju. First of all, Juju has designed a new T-shirt. Thank you, Nico Lakers shirts that you can get at LeBatardAF.com. What are your thoughts on Nico, the Lakers, and the fact that last night they win again, and Luka hasn't looked efficient or right in any of the games, but they're winning plenty, just like Golden State is.
Right. I think it's something to having LeBron and Luka on your team when you are a Showtime Laker. I think it motivates everybody to treat every single game like it's a new relationship. Like, man, there's Denzel Washington. Man, I got to do my job. They are so efficient right now. Jared Vanderbilt, the enforcer. Like you said it a couple weeks ago. I laughed at you, Dan. I was like, yeah, sure, Jared Vanderbilt. I told my girlfriend, Dan said a funny joke today. Jared Vanderbilt is an enforcer. No, you were right. They bring the pressure to every single game, and I think that they're rising to that occasion. And if you're out there listening to my voice, if you want a team to do bad, send me an email, tell me to praise them, and watch their season go down the toilet that day. Thank you, Nico shirts, right now available, LeBatardAF.com.
I don't get to have it right on the Lakers. I thought they would immediately be the worst defense in the league if they had LeBron and Luka on the court at the same time. I don't get to be right on that one. I mean, I don't even understand how I'm that wrong on that one. I thought they would be the worst defense in the league, taking out Anthony Davis and replacing it with having Luka and LeBron on the court at the same time.
Well, first of all, the Phoenix Suns say, hold my beer. As soon as they heard you say that, because they're awful. They guard nobody. But, yeah, Jared Vanderbilt, Juju's right. Jared Vanderbilt has been a godsend returning from injury for them. And they have enough guys. They don't have everyone on the team being a great defender, but they got enough guys between Vanderbilt, Dorian Finney-Smith, Rui Hachimura. Yeah. They got enough guys to keep Gabe Vincent a semblance of a great defense. And what they've done is they've defended at a top 5 level. Now, Dan, if I told you who are some of the other great defenses since the Luka trade, and I told you the Brooklyn Nets are in there, and the Detroit Pistons are in there, and the Portland Trailblazers are in there, it also begins to give us, this is small sample size.
Yeah. Juju, what are your thoughts on the conversation around Jimmy Butler and Golden State?
Yeah, man, I think Jimmy Butler, he just opens up the floor so well. And the combination of him and Draymond's veteran leadership, it allows players like Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, last night, Buddy Hield, to do what they're actually good at versus trying to do what Steve Kerr would like for them to do. He's allowed every player on that team to actually settle into what they're good at.
Yeah, I need to make a correction from earlier in the show. I talked about the likelihood of the Warriors being probably the 7th seed going in after winning the play-in. I misspoke because the Clippers lost last night and the Warriors won. The Warriors are now 6 officially.
Clippers were up by 23 last night. They've lost all 4 times they've played Phoenix. And if you're only looking at box scores, Podziemski has been better than Jimmy Butler. But don't tell anybody that, all right? Don't just keep making it about only Jimmy Butler. Let's update the polls in a second, but let's do against the spread.
It's not my computer. It's time for It's brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Jeremy, take it over.
College baseball. Florida and FAU with a midweek game. Now, Dan, listen to this one. Ready? Florida lost last night to UCF 13-3. They've lost every game they've played to UCF since 2017. They've lost back-to-back games to in-state opponents, Miami and UCF. Meanwhile, Florida Atlantic, they've won 2 midweek games already against in-state opponents. You got Miami, you got UCF. They've got those wins. They're going to keep that going because they are an underdog by 3.5 runs tonight against Florida. Florida had to use 5 pitchers yesterday in a midweek game. They're not going to have enough pitching. Florida Atlantic covers the spread plus 3.5 in Gainesville against the spread.
Billy, bring us home.
I'm going to take the Anaheim Ducks plus 1.5 against the Vancouver Canucks. We are 2-0 when we take the Ducks this year. Last time we took the Ducks, it was very, very dicey. They were favored to lose by 1.5. They had a 3-0 lead. Most dangerous lead in hockey is 2 goals. They ended up blowing that. They were then down by 1. They pulled the goalie, and then what happened? Lots of shots on goal, hit the crossbar or the side post of one of those bars, and we almost lost by 2, but we didn't. We covered, so that's as good as a win. I know what you're thinking, Billy. Didn't the Vancouver Canucks and the Ducks play each other last Thursday? They did indeed, and the Ducks won 5-2. Well, this time's in Vancouver. The Ducks have won 2 of their last 3. The Canucks have won 1 of their last 5. Vancouver has the lead in points 65-61, but we're going to take the Ducks plus 1.5 against the Canucks tonight against the spread.
Best one we've ever done. Best one we've ever done.
Ladies of the night.
Update the polls here for us, Juju. I've enjoyed the return of the polls, the return of the updates. You've been choosing very smartly with the ones you've chosen to update. What do we have today?
Before we get to, I want you to put a question on the poll, Dan Le Batard. Worst year, Nico Harrison or Aubrey Drake Graham for tomorrow's polls?
Oh, wow. No, put it up. Put it up right now at Le Batard Show. Worst year, Nico or Drake?
You're supposed to do it.
I just did it.
Yep. Poll number 1. Will they? From Billy Gill. You know what I mean? 57% of the audience says yes, they will.
Okay, all right, excellent.
I don't remember what we were talking about. Anyway.
None
the
of us do.
masseuses and White Lotus, will they?
Oh yeah.
All right, Walter Goggins with that look in his eyes. Poll number 2. Are renewed vows one of the stops on the train tracks to divorce?
Big day for Billy on the polls.
79% of the audience says yes.
Those are 2 good ones.
Exactly. Speaking of divorce, David Sampson earlier, this has been like hitching my giddy up. At the party, they asked Saquon, could you hurdle?
Yeah.
What
That's
in
crazy.
the jiggable? Bruh, that's like asking Gregory Hines, hey, could you come over here and give us a little soft shoe?
Yeah.
You don't do that. That's why you need friends from all walks of life in your life to be able to say, hey, bro, don't ask that to the black. Don't do that.
Here's the crazy
Out of here.
Juju, here's the crazy part. The friend who was that in that story was David Sampson.
He was
the one telling
Sampson was the
them.
voice of moderation there.
Can you imagine a room where Sampson is like, he's the one who knows how to act?
Hey, Chris Cody, can you give me a little Michael Jackson kick? What are we doing?
No,
I almost did it. I was like,
I mean, Dan makes me write a song so that I can work here every day. So
Best song ever, though.
Thank
Best
you.
song ever.
I really appreciate that.
His last one was really good. It was a really good effort. We found a lane for him. Just make fun of Dan and his ability to eat pie.
Oh, yeah.
Die.
That's song of the year.
Dan was saying, oh my, how I'd love to eat pie. Oh, but if it has some gluten, then I think I may die. I'll shoot my integrity straight into the sky, banging Panthers drums as a Cuban-born guy.
At LeBatard Show, it is good. Cuban-born guy is just excellent. Again, it was not Cuban-born. It's as big a lie as the one Dwayne Wade told, according to the Miami Heat. What do you have for more updated polls here?
Do you use the word croaked when talking about death? 57% of the audience says yes, they do.
Wow, that's high. That is high.
We got an old-ass audience. Does everyone have a crotch? 96% of the audience says yes, everyone does.
It's a good poll question.
4% of them are what? Arliss Loveless from Wild Wild West?
4%.
And that one guy, the wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
Those are your polls.
Thanks, Juju.
Thanks, Juju.
Thank y'all.